You are sitting in traffic. Your phone won't stop buzzing. Your boss just sent another passive-aggressive email. The person you trusted most said something that's been living rent-free in your head for 3 days now. And somewhere between the morning coffee that didn't help and the midnight scrolling that made it worse, you realized something. You have no idea how to stop feeling like the world is constantly happening to you. But what if it didn't have to be that way? What if, right now, there was a group of people who walked through the same chaos you're facing, the same betrayals, the same failures, the same anxious 3 a.m. thoughts, and not only survived it all, but became more powerful because of it? They weren't superhuman. They weren't born different. They just thought differently. These were the Stoics. And what they discovered over 2,000 years ago is something most people in the modern world have completely forgotten. Today, we are going to change that. Let me paint you a picture of the modern world. You wake up and before your feet even touch the floor, you're already comparing yourself. Comparing your body, your career, your relationship, your apartment, to strangers on a screen who've been filtered, curated, and performing happiness for the camera. By 9 a.m., you've already absorbed 12 opinions, 5 pieces of breaking news, and 4 arguments you didn't ask to witness. By noon, your mind is a war zone. And here's the thing nobody says out loud: most people are not okay. They are anxious, overstimulated, emotionally reactive, and deeply, quietly exhausted. They are running a race they didn't choose, toward a finish line that keeps moving. And yet, and this is what makes the Stoics so fascinating, people like Marcus Aurelius were running an entire empire. Seneca was one of the most powerful men in Rome. Epictetus was a slave who had everything stripped from him. And they were at peace. Not because life was easy, but because they had a method. Stoicism is not about suppressing emotion. It's not about becoming a cold, robotic person who doesn't feel anything. That's the biggest misconception. The Stoics felt deeply. They loved, they grieved, they struggled. But they had a completely different relationship with the noise. So today, I want to walk you through exactly what Stoics do differently than everyone else. Not as a history lesson. Not as a philosophy lecture. But as a practical, honest, deeply human guide to reclaiming your life. Are you ready? Let's go. WTH 10 Principles that teaches what Stoics do differently than everyone else. Principle 1. Stoics know what they can control, and they let go of the rest. Imagine you're waiting for a text back from someone important to you. Maybe it's a job offer. Maybe it's someone you're falling for. Maybe it's a friend you had a falling out with. And your phone is silent. So what do? You check it again. You rehearse conversations in your head. You craft backup plans for backup plans. You spiral. You refresh. You agonize. And here's what all of that has in common: none of it changes anything. Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher who was literally born into slavery, beaten, and had his leg broken by his master, wrote the most important sentence in all of Stoicism. Some things are within our power, while others are not. Within our power are opinion, motivation, desire, aversion. Not within our power are our body, our property, reputation, office. That's it. That is the whole game. There are 2 categories in life: things you control and things you don't. And most of us, most of the time, are spending enormous amounts of mental and emotional energy on the second category. Think about the last time you were stressed. Really stressed. What was it about? Was it the opinion of someone else? The outcome of a situation you couldn't fully determine? The weather? Traffic? A social media comment? Someone's tone? None of those are in your column. But here's what is in your column: how you respond. What you focus on. the effort you give, the values you uphold, the story you tell yourself about what just happened. Stoics become almost obsessive about this line, the line between their circle and the world's chaos. They draw it sharply. They defend it daily. The actionable practice? Every morning, or right now if you need it, ask yourself one question: is this in my control? If the answer is no, acknowledge it and consciously redirect your energy. Not once. Not twice. Every single time your mind drifts to the uncontrollable, you gently bring it back. This isn't weakness. This is the highest form of discipline. Principle 2. Stoics never outsource their emotional state. Here is a pattern that is destroying modern people, and almost no one talks about it. We have learned to outsource how we feel. We need someone to text us back before we feel wanted. We need the post to get likes before we feel relevant. We need the boss to say, "Good job," before we feel competent. We need the relationship to be stable before we feel secure. And when any of those external things shift, when the texts stop coming, when the approval disappears, we crash. Seneca wrote to his friend Lucilius, "Retire into yourself as much as you can." What he meant was this: the source of your peace cannot be out there. Because out there will always be unstable. People will disappoint you. Circumstances will change. The approval you're chasing will move the moment you reach it. Stoics develop what psychologists today call internal locus of control. They cultivate an inner world so rich, so grounded, so autonomous that external validation becomes a nice bonus, not a life requirement. Think about the most unshakable person you've ever met. They weren't necessarily the most successful or the most loved. They just had something quiet inside them that no one could touch. That's not luck. That's practice. The practice? Stop asking, "What will people think?" Start asking, "What do I think?" Start building an inner standard, one that doesn't need a crowd to validate it. Journal your values. Act on them in private. Let your self-respect come from who you are when no one is watching. Your emotional stability cannot be held hostage by someone else's mood. That is the Stoic non-negotiable. Principle 3. Stoics practice negative visualization, and it makes them grateful. Here's something that sounds dark but is actually one of the most liberating practices in Stoic philosophy. Imagine losing everything. Not as a nightmare. As a deliberate, controlled exercise. Seneca wrote, "Let us prepare our minds as if we had come to the very end of life. Let us postpone nothing." The Stoics would regularly sit and vividly imagine that the things they loved most, their health, their relationships, their home, their freedom, were gone. Not to torture themselves, but to remember. Because here is the brutal truth about the human mind: we adapt to everything. We get the promotion and forget to feel grateful within 2 weeks. We find the partner and stop seeing them clearly within 6 months. We achieve the dream and immediately start comparing it to a bigger dream. This phenomenon has a name: hedonic adaptation. And it is the silent thief of joy. The Stoic practice of premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils, is the antidote. By imagining loss, you restore the sense of having. By imagining absence, you suddenly see presence everywhere. Marcus Aurelius used to look at his children and think, "These are mortal beings. I could lose them." And that thought, rather than filling him with dread, filled him with a fierce, aching love for them in that very moment. The actionable practice: tonight, before you sleep, spend 5 minutes imagining your life without 3 things you currently take for granted. Your health. A person you love. A freedom you enjoy. Let yourself feel the imagined loss, then open your eyes to what is still here. You will go to sleep a different person than you woke up today. Principle 4. Stoics treat obstacles as fuel, not failure. Marcus Aurelius wrote, and I want you to really hear this, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Read that again. What stands in the way becomes the way. This is not a platitude. This is a complete reframe of how Stoics experience obstacles. For most people, an obstacle is a stop sign. Something that says, you failed, turn back, this isn't for you. For a Stoic, an obstacle is a laboratory. It is the exact circumstance through which your character gets forged, tested, and revealed. Think about a time you failed spectacularly. Maybe a business that collapsed. A relationship that ended badly. A dream you couldn't reach. A public humiliation. A rejection that stung for months. Now, and be honest, what did that failure teach you? I'm willing to bet it taught you more than any success did. I'm willing to bet it revealed something about yourself, about your resilience, your values, your real priorities, that smooth sailing never could. The Stoics weren't masochists. They didn't enjoy suffering. But they understood something modern success culture refuses to admit: difficulty is the medium through which greatness is produced. Edison failed. Lincoln failed. Einstein failed. Every name you associate with transformation had a period of profound, sustained, humiliating obstacle. And what they did, what Stoics always do, is reframe the obstacle as the assignment. The question is never, why is this happening to me? The Stoic question is always, what is this asking me to become? The practice, the next time you hit a wall, before you spiral into frustration or defeat, ask one question: what can I learn from this right now? Not later. Not when the pain fades. Right now. Make the difficult moment the classroom instead of the cell. Now, pause for a while. I need you to hear what I'm about to say. Most people watching this will nod along. They'll feel inspired. They'll maybe even screenshot something. And then they'll go back to exactly the same patterns tomorrow. Because information without application is just entertainment. But if you stay with me, if you really absorb what comes next, the remaining principles are not just going to change how you think. They are going to change who you are. Because we're moving from awareness now into something deeper. Something that the Stoics called the transformation of character. So take a breath. Stay with this. Because what's coming is the part most philosophy channels never reach. Principle 5. Stoics choose discomfort on purpose. Here is something that will separate you from 95% of people almost immediately if you adopt it. Stoics deliberately seek discomfort. Not because they're suffering addicts. But because they understand a psychological truth that most people avoid: the more you run from discomfort, the more powerful it becomes. The more you face it voluntarily, the more it loses its grip on you. Seneca didn't just preach this. He practiced it. He would periodically eat the food of a poor man, coarse bread, simple water, while dressed in rough clothes for several days at a time. Then he'd ask himself, was this what I was afraid of? Marcus Aurelius woke at dawn even when he didn't want to. He wrote about the conversation he had with himself each morning: the bed was warm, the world was cold, the mind was lazy. And he got up anyway. Every time. Because they knew, comfort is a drug. And like all drugs, you need more and more of it to feel normal, and less discomfort before it feels catastrophic. Look at modern life. We have heated seats and noise-canceling headphones and same-day delivery and apps that eliminate every inconvenience. And yet, we are more anxious, more fragile, more easily overwhelmed than any generation in recorded history. Because we have optimized comfort to the point where we've lost our tolerance for difficulty. The Stoics would say, you are not protecting yourself by avoiding discomfort. You are making yourself weaker. The practice: choose one form of voluntary discomfort this week. Cold shower. Hard workout. A difficult conversation you've been avoiding. Skip the comfort food for one day. Sit in silence without your phone for 30 minutes. It doesn't have to be dramatic. It just has to be real. Let yourself feel the discomfort. And then recognize, you survived it. You're okay. And now the next hard thing will be a little less terrifying than before. Principle 6. Stoics are immune to flattery and criticism. This one is subtle. And it might be the most powerful principle on this entire list. Most of us have been raised to crave praise and flee criticism. We want the gold star. We want the validation. We structure entire careers and relationships around whether people approve of us. And then, when someone criticizes us, we shatter. We obsess. We replay what they said for days. We either collapse into shame or explode into defensiveness. Stoics do neither. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "I have often wondered how it is that every man loves himself more than all the rest of men, but yet sets less value on his own opinion of himself than on the opinion of others." Think about that. You trust your own judgment for almost everything in life: what to eat, where to live, who to love. But the moment someone else forms an opinion of you, you immediately assume they are right and you are wrong? The Stoic approach to criticism is surgical. You first ask, is this true? If someone says you were rude, were you? If someone says your work was poor, was it? If the answer is yes, you thank them internally, improve, and move on. If the answer is no, you note that this is their opinion, not your reality, and you move on. Either way, you move on. And here's the equally important flip side. When someone praises you, really lathers on the flattery, Stoics are suspicious. Because praise can be just as manipulative as criticism. People use it to soften you, to get something from you, to inflate your ego so you make worse decisions. Your value is not determined by applause. And your character is not destroyed by criticism. The Stoic stands equally unmoved by both. The practice: the next time you receive criticism, real or imagined, run it through one filter: is there truth here that I should absorb? If yes, take it in. If no, release it with zero drama. Do not argue. Do not justify. Do not obsess. Just release it. It was never yours to carry. Principle 7. Stoics live like today might be the last. Marcus Aurelius lost 8 of his 13 children during his lifetime. He watched plagues sweep through his empire. He survived military campaigns where men around him died. And through all of it, he kept writing. Confine yourself to the present, he wrote in Meditations. The past is gone. The future is unwritten. The only life that is actually being lived, the only moment that is actually yours, is the one happening right now. Stoics had a phrase for this: memento mori. Remember that you will die. Now, before you think that's morbid, hang on. Imagine you just got a call from a doctor with scary news. Not confirmed bad news, just a scare. Just enough to shake your sense of permanence for a few hours. What happens to your priorities? Suddenly the petty grudges fall away. Suddenly the inbox doesn't matter. Suddenly the person across the room, the one you've been meaning to really talk to, seems unbearably precious. Memento mori isn't designed to make you anxious. It's designed to make you awake. Because here's the truth: we all intellectually know we will die. But we live as though we won't. As though there will always be another chance. Another year. Another conversation. Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a great deal of it. We waste it chasing approval we don't need. We waste it replaying conversations from 5 years ago. We waste it delaying the life we actually want in favor of the life that seems appropriate. The Stoic doesn't wait for a near-death experience to start living fully. They engineer that clarity into every ordinary Tuesday. The practice: once a week, pick one ordinary moment, a meal, a walk, a conversation, and treat it with the full presence of someone who knows this could be their last time experiencing it. Not with heaviness. With love. With attention. With the recognition that ordinary moments, approached this way, are actually extraordinary. Principle 8. Stoics master their interior monologue. Close your eyes for a second. Metaphorically, if you're driving. Listen to the voice inside your head right now. The running commentary of your life. What is it saying? For most people, if they're being honest, that inner voice is exhausting. It catastrophizes. It judges. It compares. It rehearses. It worries. It replays. It doubts. And here's what the Stoics understood before neuroscience confirmed it: your thoughts are not reality. They are interpretations of reality. And interpretations can be changed. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. But this wasn't passive acceptance. He actively worked on his inner voice. Meditations, the book he's most famous for, wasn't written for publication. It was his private journal. Notes to himself. Corrections to himself. Reframes to himself. He would write things like, "Today I will meet with interference, ingratitude, insolence, disloyalty, ill will, and selfishness, all of them due to the offender's ignorance of what is good and evil." He prepared his mind. He scripted a better inner narrative before the day began. Think about what this looks like in your life. Someone cuts you off in traffic. Your immediate inner voice says something like, "What an idiot. People are terrible." That story then spills into your entire morning. A Stoic's inner voice says, "They might be rushing to an emergency. Or maybe they just had a terrible morning. It's over. Let it go." Same event. Completely different interior experience. The quality of your inner monologue determines the quality of your life. Not your circumstances. Your commentary on your circumstances. The practice: start a Stoic journal. Spend 10 minutes each morning writing down what you're likely to face that day, the difficult person, the stressful meeting, the trigger, and then write how your best self would respond to it. You are scripting your inner narrative before the noise hijacks it. This is not delusion. This is preparation. There is a difference. Principle 9. Stoics don't perform virtue, they practice it in private. We live in the most publicly performative era in human history. People don't just do good things anymore, they document them. People don't just hold beliefs, they broadcast them. The value of an action has become inseparable from the number of people who witnessed it. The Stoics would find this catastrophically backwards. Their definition of virtue, of being a good person, had absolutely nothing to do with audience. In fact, Marcus Aurelius was so concerned about the corruption of public approval that he repeatedly reminded himself, "Don't do things to be admired. Do things because they are right." He wrote, "Never esteem anything as of advantage to you that will make you break your word or lose your self-respect." Stoic virtue has 4 pillars: wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance. And all 4 of them are things you practice when no one is watching. The wisdom you apply when there's no glory in it. The justice you offer when it costs you something. The courage you summon when you're terrified and no one will know. The temperance you practice when every part of you wants to indulge. Here is the modern trap: we have confused signaling virtue with having virtue. We post about causes we don't act on. We perform empathy on platforms while ignoring the people in our immediate lives. We chase the reputation for being good while avoiding the hard work that actually makes us good. The Stoic catches themselves in this trap constantly. Because it's human. It's seductive. Appearing good is so much easier than being good. But Stoics know that the private version of yourself is the real version. And that is the only version worth investing in. The practice: this week, do one genuinely good thing, and tell absolutely no one. Help someone. Forgive someone. Be generous. Be courageous. Let it exist only between you and your own conscience. Notice how that feels. Notice whether it feels different from the approval-seeking kind of goodness. Because it will. Principle 10. Stoics know that peace is not something you find, it's something you build. This is the one that brings everything together. We spend our whole lives searching for peace. We search for it in the right relationship, the right city, the right job, the right achievement, the right amount of money. We tell ourselves, when this is settled, when that is resolved, when I finally achieve this thing, then I'll have peace. The Stoics had a word for this. They called it running toward an imaginary future. And Seneca was brutal about it. He wrote, "Everywhere means nowhere." When a person spends all his time in foreign travel, he ends by having many acquaintances, but no friends. He was talking about physical travel, but the metaphor runs deeper. When we are always chasing the next external thing, the next fix, the next circumstance, we become tourists of our own life. We visit everything. We belong nowhere. Peace is not a destination. Peace is a daily construction project. It is built through the consistent practice of everything we've talked about today. Through choosing what you control. Through building an inner world that doesn't collapse when the outer world gets difficult. Through voluntary discomfort that builds resilience. Through virtue practiced in private. Through an inner monologue you've deliberately shaped. Peace is what happens when you stop waiting for the world to arrange itself to your comfort, and start arranging yourself to meet the world with clarity, strength, and openness. Marcus Aurelius was a man who lost children, faced wars, managed betrayals, battled illness, and governed millions of people who were constantly trying to manipulate him. And yet his meditations, read 2,000 years later, radiate something that is almost impossible to describe. Steadiness. Like deep water. Nothing on the surface is still. But underneath, something holds. That is what Stoicism builds. Not a life without storms. A person who is not destroyed by them. I want to talk to you directly for a moment. You started this video for a reason. Maybe you're going through something right now that you don't have words for yet. Maybe you're tired, bone tired, of reacting instead of responding. Maybe you've watched your own emotional reactivity cost you something real, a relationship, an opportunity, your own self-respect. Maybe you just have this quiet, persistent feeling that you are capable of more than the life you're currently living. More presence. More peace. More power over your own experience. If any of that resonates, I need you to hear this. The Stoics were not enlightened monks on mountaintops. They were people with power and pressure and grief and failure and uncertainty. Exactly like you. Marcus Aurelius watched his empire nearly collapse. Seneca was exiled. Epictetus had his freedom stolen. And they actively chose, every single day, to work on the one thing within their reach, themselves. Not their circumstances. Not other people. Themselves. Because they understood something that takes most people an entire lifetime, if they're lucky, to figure out. The only project you will ever have complete access to is yourself. And most people never even start it. Stoicism is not about becoming perfect. It is about becoming deliberate. It is about choosing, over and over again, who you want to be, rather than simply being blown by whatever wind is currently strongest. It is about transforming suffering from something that happens to you into something that happens for you. It is about reclaiming authorship of your own life. Here is what I want you to take from everything we've explored today. The Stoics were not perfect. They didn't always live up to their own teachings. Seneca himself was wealthy beyond measure while writing about the corruption of wealth. Marcus Aurelius struggled with procrastination. Epictetus lost his temper. They were human. Deeply, honestly, beautifully human. But what made them different, what separated them from the crowd then, and separates the people who carry these ideas now, is that they showed up to work on themselves every single day. Regardless of circumstance. Regardless of who was watching. They understood that a life well lived is not a life without difficulty. It is a life where difficulty has been transformed, again and again, into depth, into wisdom, into character. And here is the extraordinary thing about that kind of person, the kind of person Stoicism is building inside of you right now, as you hear these words. They are at peace even when things are hard. They are generous even when they're depleted. They are honest even when lies would be easier. They are courageous even when they're afraid. They are present even when the world is screaming at them to check out. They are, to use the Stoics' own word, virtuous. Not perfect. Not invincible. Not emotionless. Just, rooted. Quietly, stubbornly, beautifully rooted. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in the world at the time, would end each day by writing in his journal. Not about politics. Not about victories. About who he had been that day. Whether he had lived up to his own standard. Whether he had been the person he was trying to become. Just a man, alone with his conscience, asking, "Was I good today?" That's it. That is Stoicism in its most human form. Not a system. Not a brand. Not a set of productivity hacks. A daily, private, relentless commitment to becoming the best version of yourself. Not for applause. Not for followers. Not for history. For you. For the people you love. For the life that is happening right now, in this exact moment, while you're still here to live it. The world will always be chaotic. The Stoic question is not, how do I stop the chaos? The Stoic question is, who do I choose to be inside it? That flame is you. It has always been you. You just needed to remember that nothing outside you can extinguish it, unless you let it. If this changed how you think, don't stop here. Subscribe for more Stoic wisdom. And comment the one principle you'll start today. Because knowledge doesn't change your life. Action does.